We got it. Yo, ladies and gentlemen,
What's up,
welcome to
y'all?
Unk and Few in person.
You got it, brother.
In person, man. This is the pregame show, man. And we are definitely pregaming. Come on. Let's get it.
Tail, thy gate is yours.
I'll go with that. We'll go with that. We'll go with that. We'll go with that.
Rocking that tailgate pregame. Sure enough.
You know how that goes. We are here all these weeks of football.
Yeah, dude.
We're this close to the big game, bro.
Almost at the mountaintop.
We're almost at the mountaintop. We're recording from Senate Tavern here in Ottawa, man. Clarence Street, man. We're vibing, having a good time.
Rocking the byword.
You're rocking the byword market, doing our thingy thing. And we thought about it because you were in the city, right? Didn't know for how long you were watching that Grateful Dead tribute band or something like that. Can you get into it before we get into
man. Wakefield has this great old hippie bar, and they had a Grateful Dead cover band. And so, all me and my crew, my boy lives out in Chelsea, not too far from Wakefield. And so, we all saw that flyer back at the beginning of January and said, yeah, man, let's do an Ottawa trip again. Like, let's all just get together. The three of us have been trying to get together in one room for about 2 years now, but it always like somebody flakes out or can't make it or something happens, whatever. So we finally got it done. So we danced our ass off some good old Grateful Dead music, and checked out another guy, I guess local Ottawa legend. I forget his name, Ron somebody or other, right? And we've been having a great old time,
man.
So I love that feeling. This podcast was a natural to do after all that.
Man, look at Unc having a good time, man.
Dude.
Look at that big ass smile, man.
Gen X knows what's up, y'all.
Let's do it, man. Tell you who else is smiling right now, man. Raheem Morris, the new coach of the Atlanta Falcons, man. We got to touch on that.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really happy about this because think about it like this. A lot of minority hires have been hired in this coaching cycle. You have Gerard Mayo. We talked about him last week.
Yeah. Big time.
We have, Antonio Pierce for the Raiders. We talked about that. And now another one, Raheem Morris, who used to work with Atlanta. He was one of the assistant coaches. He got that stamp of approval from Sean McVay, from a lot of other people he's worked with. Defensive coordinator, obviously for the Rams. The Rams, who overachieved in my eyes. They overachieved by even making it to the playoffs. Yeah. Obviously got beat by the Lions. So what do you think of the new hire of Antonio Pierce? Another guy was supposed to be hired. But
Antonio Pierce or Raheem Morris?
Raheem Morris, my mistake. Let's talk about it.
At first, when I first looked at it, my initial reaction was actually like, oh, geez, here Atlanta goes again, right? Like, because his official head coaching record is kind of modest.
It's pretty bad. It's not the best.
So
it's not the best.
Yeah, so I kind of get the feeling that he's kind of like he came into the league as a head coach at 32, man.
Oh, wow.
Like, I remember being 32 and managing 53 grown men plus coaches, assistants. Like, it probably wasn't in my wheelhouse of capacity, right?
definitely wasn't mine.
So,
I don't think
and so 3 years in Tampa was unspectacular. And I just thought to myself, okay, well, here go the Falcons again, getting some fair to middling guy, right? Yeah. But the reality is in the 15 years since he was that head coach, I guess he's sort of mentored and apprenticed a little bit. He's gone back. He's been humble enough to go back to coaching lines, taking care of the defense, doing stuff like that. Okay. And like his recommendations from LA, apparently LA's been trying to find him a head coaching job.
They've been trying to
since last year. Like, like the higher ups in
upper management
in LA see that they feel like the guy should have a head coach. And the other thing I'm hearing is that he's going to be testing all the interference laws when it comes to like players are going to want to play for him. Like Jalen Ramsey apparently has already sent him a text saying, and so the anti-tampering rules, like, I'm not saying this seriously, like it's going to happen, but that was sort of the joke that the analyst was saying is that like he's very popular with a lot of people. And so apparently his network of people that support him is extensive.
Okay.
And he went through 14, he didn't go through 14 interviews. He went through two. But the Falcons, Arthur Blank interviewed 14 other characters.
Really?
Including Belichick, and came back to Raheem.
Oh, wow.
So check that out, man. So apparently I guess they really believe that his greatest days are in front of him.
That's I didn't even know that context. That the 14 other candidates.
That's a lot of
that's
people.
That's a competitive spot.
Competitive job interview.
That's a competitive posting, bro. Because
for real,
think about it like this: you have multiple candidates, and we're going to talk about another one.
Yeah,
but the main one right now that I was a little bit shocked because I thought that was Belichick's job to lose. So when Raheem Morris got, I was like pleasantly surprised.
Yeah,
but then Belichick, that's the factor that we were going to touch on a lot. He didn't get that job. There was so much buzz about him. So what do you think, Unc? What do you think was the deciding factor on why Arthur Blank went with
honestly
Morris rather than Belichick?
My guess is that it has to be Raheem Morris. This guy interviewed 14 other candidates, and apparently Arthur Blank at the beginning of the process was committed to Belichick. He was sure that Belichick was his man. There was substance to those rumors.
Yep.
Right. But apparently, by the end of the process, he listened to his executives, right, like any good CEO should.
Smart.
And and interviewed Raheem again a second time, and went against his initial gut instinct.
Man, I have hope. I have hope, and I think it's going to go well, especially when you look at how talented that team is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kyle Pitts, who was terrible in fantasy for me this year. Don't get me started.
He disappointed a lot of people.
But Bijan Robinson, amazing young running back. He gives me a lot of Christian McCaffrey vibes.
Oh, yeah.
Pass catcher and runner of the football. You have, obviously, there's questions of quarterback, but their receiver.
That's what I was about to bring up.
Yeah, man.
His biggest question is going to be at quarterback. Who is he going to get? Because Ritter's got to be out of there. He's a complete failure. Yes. Heineke's a $7 million cap hit that they could easily just cut him off. And right. So they're going to have to I think they have the number 8 pick.
They have the number 8 pick.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that means they're either going to go, and the defensive pickings in the draft this year are apparently pretty slim. So likelihood is that they're going to go offensive with their first round pick. So number 8 should get them in the conversation with some of the quarterbacks coming out.
There'll be somebody. There'll be somebody.
I think if they were really smart, they'd get some veteran to come in there, at least for the first year.
A veteran? Okay.
Yeah. So we're talking about what's his face out in
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Or Russell Wilson is the other name.
Kirk
Cousins or Russell Wilson, I think, would be a good fit.
I can see
just
Captain
at least
Kirk
for the first year or second year.
I could definitely see them getting some kind of vet to right the ship.
Because to get it stabilized.
That division is not competitive at all.
Hey, they could win that thing next year
with 8 wins. That's it. They don't even need 10, bro. Right. They just 8 wins.
We saw that for like the umpteenth time in the NFC South.
Man, and then you look at how it's looking. I think that is a great job for any head coach.
Yep.
It's a young guys you can develop over time. Management obviously will give you some leeway. They'll let you do your thing. You know what I mean? I think it's a great job, but this leads me to think, how did Belichick, of all people, not get it? You said it's because Raheem Morris just took the job in his hand.
Yeah.
I also have a side thing in my mind that I'm thinking about. Has Bill's resume diminished him as a coach? His recent resume. We're not talking about what he did with Tom.
This is my point that I'm about to bring up, is that Bill Belichick, if you really examine his coaching record outside of the Tom Brady years, right? The bookend before and after.
Yes, sir.
Right? His time with Cleveland, the New York Jets. Like, he's not prolific. He has not been a super.
He's a sub 500 coach. That's
right?
what I heard.
I was generously going to call him a 500 coach.
Yeah.
Right. So and on top of all that, this guy wants all the personnel control, and he wants to change the culture of any organization he goes to. I think there's a lot of people saying, like, you know what? It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And think about this coach hiring cycle, right? There's only 2 teams basically left. The Seahawks, the Washington Commanders, the former Redskins team. And those franchises, because if I'm Bill, right?
Yeah.
I want to get that ring. I want to go down the sunset.
Or 15 more wins.
15 more to beat Shula.
That's his main priority.
It's to beat Shula's record. So me, in my mind, if I'm Belichick, I'm not going to get 15 wins with the Seahawks. Well, maybe not. No,
2 seasons, 3 seasons.
Maybe 3, but like I'm 70.
Which is 75 years old.
Come on, man. Do you think he's going to get 15 wins with the Commanders, how terrible they are?
Yeah, no,
especially with the Cowboys beating them up, especially with obviously the Eagles beating them up.
Yeah.
That's why for me in the back of my mind, I was thinking, if they get rid of Sirianni,
not the place. It's not the place.
You know what I mean? I'm like, if the Eagles get rid of Sirianni, maybe Bill can swim in there. But it seems like this coaching hiring cycle, Bill will be without a job. Is he going to the booth or is he going to the couch, Uncle? What do you think? Is he going to the booth or the couch?
I know there's no way on earth that guy's going to the booth. Are you kidding me? Yeah, that play was, a little less than we'd like to see, a little bit more effort out of these guys, right? Bill Belichick is not going to the booth.
I don't see him in the booth either. I'm like, damn, imagine him in a booth.
Well, look, remember the Pats gave him this emeritus consulting position.
Oh, they did. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so okay. He's getting a check from them.
Oh yeah. But I mean, that's just a placeholder, like for his dignity, basically, to avoid the fact that he got fired.
And that's what I'm saying, people. That man got fired.
He got canned,
and they dressed it up and made it seem it was a parting ways. When your manager
what else
says,
do? What else are you gonna do? The guy's been there for 22 years.
When your
6 rings, I mean, you don't just like throw him out.
You see, when your manager tells you your services are no longer required, that man or woman is telling you you're fired, bro. Man is telling you out of here, dog.
Yeah,
that's what the owner said. Robert Kraft, he said that to Belichick, and I think this decision happened like mid-season. It wasn't like. So
that wouldn't be too hard to envision, like when they were like 3-6 or whatever they were.
And then they benched and started Mac Jones 30 times. I'm like, bro, you done ruined this kid's whole, career, basically.
Right. And you supposedly have all the credit for developing Brady. And yet you flop with Mac Jones 20 years later. Like you learned nothing in 20 years. Or maybe you just didn't know that much to begin with. And Brady was a really good quarterback.
Oh, right? We'll talk to him, Uncle.
Yeah. And listen, like
that's a fact. Though.
Nobody hates Brady more than I do. Just as a Steelers fan, how many times did I have my hopes crushed by this guy?
We might be tied on our Brady hate, man. I hate Brady. So Ravens.
But I'm sorry. I'm going to give it up to him when it comes to like. We mentioned this in the podcast
we
before.
Definitely do.
Who is responsible for all those rings? And it's looking more and more and more like Tom Brady. It's the reason.
The scales are tipping towards Brady's side in such a heavy way.
Yeah, man.
Because we've seen now Belichick with 3, you could even argue 4 other quarterbacks after the Tom Brady era. You talk about Cam Newton, Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi. None of them were able to do anything.
The fact that he can't make Cam Newton work. I mean, I know he was getting a little gray in the tooth by the time he got there, but he should have been good for at least a couple of 10-win seasons.
100%. And Cam is actually, you know what? We got to give credit to Cam because he's very much a pioneer of what we're going to talk about later about the prototypical new 2024 quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
Also in our analysis of the game. But you can tell that Belichick kind of ruined him too. We're seeing a pattern here where Belichick and quarterbacks don't go unless your name is
Tom Brady.
Tom Edward Brady.
So the only guy who's
made it work with him. So we're gonna see Mr. Belichick, the winningest football coach,
go unemployed.
15
wins short of legendary Hall of Fame.
Now here's my prediction. I think there'll be a mid-season firing because there always is.
Yeah, sure.
There always is.
Sure.
And I think Belichick is going to sneak on the back door of a team. Yes. What do you think about that? That's my
it wouldn't surprise me if he actually ended up taking the Seahawks might just decide to
No.
But that doesn't even make sense either, though, because they kind of basically got rid of Carroll for being what?
70
years old.
So and then you're going to hire a guy who's right there.
You're going to replace him with Belichick, right? So that doesn't add up. So you may be right that it may be a mid-season thing that lets him back in the game. But for the time being, nobody wants to put up with Belichick for the amount of wins he seemed to have been getting for the Patriots over the last 5 years.
And he's been getting his clock cleaned by Buffalo.
Oh,
even the Jets.
And even the Jets, yeah.
And then obviously Miami's cleaning their clock.
Yeah.
They have been the worst team in that division for 3 years now.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, they're just back to normal again.
The Patriots won.
That's it. I grew up in the era of Raymond Berry Patriots football. So
yeah. I did a history search, and man, before Bill Parcells and Belichick, that team was hot garbage.
They were terrible.
The Patriots were just, they were like this era's Cleveland. Well, Browns are actually good now, but
Yeah.
they were really bad.
They were a reliable freaking like puppy a kick for a lot of years. For sure. Yeah. No, the Patriots were terrible.
So Robert Kraft and Bill, obviously, and Tom changed the whole dynasty.
I would actually give Robert Kraft a lot of credit for that, man. He changed the culture out in Foxborough for sure.
We're gonna need Jerry Jones to take some notes, man, because changing the franchise into a winning franchise is something that's hard as hell. But we have a guy who's done it in multiple places. We're talking about Jim Harbaugh, the new coach of the LA Chargers. I was gonna say San Diego Chargers. I'm not used to it, but we're talking about the exact opposite of, I would say not really opposite of Bill Belichick, but a guy who wins everywhere. This guy won at Stanford, which kind of sucks right now as a football program.
Mm-hmm.
The man won with the Niners, took them all the way to the Super Bowl where he faced his own brother, who we're going to talk about. The man won, obviously, in Michigan this year with the national championship. We were suspicious a bit about Michigan. We weren't really into it.
Yeah,
but then they ended up with a natty, and I think Harbaugh left out of there before the NCAA started investigating. They're gonna find something, and somebody's gonna catch the fall for that.
Well, and if you're Harbaugh, why would you stick around for that, right? Like you know how it is. All the top 25 in college all do the same thing.
They're doing some version of that.
That's just how it operates, right?
Yep.
And if I'm Harbaugh, it's like screw this. I'm out of here, right? Why am I gonna stick around for that, right? I just won the national championship. I just did everything I could, and I think Harbaugh actually is a Michigan Wolverine. Like,
yes,
he was the
did.
Quarterback.
He did.
He won a Rose Bowl with them. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, he did. In the Bull Schembechler type of He was playing.
It was in the 80s. It was at the end of the Bo Schembechler era. That's right.
Yeah.
So I've known about Harbaugh for a lot of time. Man, I watched that guy as a football player. I appreciated him as a pro football player in Indianapolis. I think Harbaugh is just a passionate, tough as nails kind of football guy, right? He really is. Like one time I watched him will his team to victory, the Colts to victory in like the 95 playoffs or something like that. And it was all him. It was all hard. He's a never say die player.
Oh, yes.
And that passion that's transferred over to coaching. One of his first jobs, actually, before the Stanford gig, was little known, like San Diego State or some kind of where they were like 1-11. He showed up and within 3 years got them into double-digit wins.
Oh,
I'm not even joking. Like Harbaugh from the very beginning has been a turnaround artist, right? And let me tell you also, too, why Harbaugh chose, because that's basically what it was. Harbaugh chose.
I think he chose
San Diego. Because one of the big things with Harbaugh is he's going to want personnel control. And that's not available everywhere, right?
There you go. Yes,
right? Raheem Morris is going to have to deal with that in Atlanta. He has to report to Arthur Blank.
Yes.
It used to be he used to have to report to the CEO, but they've taken him out of football operations. But that's still that's one of the things that held Belichick back too. Belichick also demands personnel. And not everybody gets that, right? Like, why do you have a general manager if your coach is the GM?
That's because Belichick is used to having both.
He's
used to having all the power.
But it's not an easy thing to do. Let me tell you, like everybody and their uncle wants more power. Everybody does, right? I mean, if I can make the decisions, Bill Parcells was famous for saying, if I can't shop for the groceries, why am I going to make this meal? Right. Well, when you're Bill Parcells, I guess you can pull that off.
You can definitely pull that off.
But that was his deal in Denver when he went there. So a lot of guys like to do that, and it kind of makes sense if you're the coach that you should pick the team. But the reality is that sometimes you're a little too close to the action to make them. So I absolutely believe that you should have a general manager, and the coach and the general manager have to be on the same page. Like that's what you have to do.
Yes.
Like those two guys have to be working together, right? But I don't think you're smart to dismiss a general manager. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like this guy spends all day long finding out facts that you don't know. You might have the eyes for football as a coach, but like these guys are neck deep in data all day long trying to sort out who's the best, who's on that shopping list, right? So anyways, so Harbaugh benefited from this because Spanos and the boys just fired their GM.
Yes, they fired Staley and the GM.
Yeah,
yes,
and so Harbaugh got hired before they hired a GM.
They're doing interviews for the GM,
right? But they hired Harbaugh, which means that Harbaugh is sort of the preeminent hire.
He's picking his guy,
right? Basically, he's going to tell them who he wants as a GM. So,
and you know what? That's
he gets the personnel issue solved that way.
That's such an ideal situation because
it's ideal for Harbaugh.
You're coming for Harbaugh because think about it like this: he's coming from a college coach who you're controlling everything.
Yes. Saving another example. That's right.
You're controlling everything. So when you come in a professional environment, which you've already succeeded before, you want to again control everything. You know what I mean? And Harbaugh is not like Urban Meyer. He's not going to ruin a franchise like he did with Jacksonville.
That's it. He's got a solid resume.
And I think the Chargers are, I'm not saying they're going to win a Super Bowl now. I'm not going to go crazy.
Not right away.
But I think they're going to be very competitive in that very quickly, because we saw, even though the Broncos had some ups and downs, some hiccups, the Broncos are in the right way now.
Yeah.
Because of one guy.
Sean
Payton. And of course, that drama with Russell Wilson is what it is.
That was some drama.
That was some heavy drama. Let's keep it real. But I'm telling you, the Broncos will be competitive. I think the Raiders will be competitive.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Chargers are going to be very, very competitive.
Yeah. The West is
getting hot.
The West is going to be nuts.
Chanel Taylor is going for a KC. She said, "We're going to beat KC. I have faith in my team. Big trust.
Right.
And we have faith in it. Ravens Nation. Big trust. Woo woo. We got an honorary Ravens fan here.
Yeah. I'm repping the AFC North.
North.
We'll put it in those terms.
Let's just do a chance at the AFC North, brother.
To the AFC North for sure. The black and blue division.
I love it. Now I'm telling you, Jim Harbaugh, I think he's going to be great for even the culture of the LA Chargers, because the Chargers, like you told me, you put me on some game.
Yeah.
The history of that franchise is terrible. I looked it up, and they made the Super Bowl maybe once.
Yeah.
In like the 90s or something like that. Give us
a
history
lesson. Actually, no, wait. Once.
Yeah.
Just once.
Give us a history lessons about the Chargers, man. We need Unc's wisdom on this, man. Talk to us, man.
Well, with the Chargers, basically, they're an old AFC, American Football League before the merger. They go back to the AFL days.
Okay.
And of course, they're like the Raiders that way. And like anyway, the Raiders are a good example. Denver, all these guys, they all came out of that wild woolly AFL, right? Where passing was big.
Nice.
And so, they never really sort of gave up on that. And the Chargers' modern history basically begins with a guy named Don Coryell. Don Coryell was a revolutionary kind of coach who emphasized the airplay, right? He wanted to pass that ball 35 times a game.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, and of course, Dan Fouts starts building his legend under that program. And so what the Chargers are good for, year in, year out, decade in, decade out, most of the time, is that they're competitive, but never winners. Right? Yeah. Like when they did finally make the Super Bowl, they got rolled really bad.
Who did they play?
Now you're testing me.
I don't even know. We can search it up on the side.
No, I'm pretty sure it was. Either against Denver, but I can't remember.
That's all good. It's all good.
No, it wouldn't be against Denver. They're in the same conference. So no, I forget who they were playing, but it's just
they got rolled.
Yeah, you know what? I think it was San Francisco. I think it was George Seifert's Super Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was like 1990 or 91, and they just got or a little bit late, 94, I think it was, right? Okay. And they just got rolled. It wasn't competitive at all. Yeah,
and then that's what I've always thought about. The Chargers organization in general, because I started watching football around the LaDainian Tomlinson era of Chargers football, because I'm a big LT fan. That was my favorite football. Players. I love LT. And
TCU product.
TCU, yeah. And then I looked at the history as I was following him. I followed the team. They were competitive all the time. They made the playoffs. Always out in the wild card.
Yeah.
Always out in the divisional. Phillip Rivers would try his best. He wouldn't make it. Antonio
Phillip Rivers was a
come make an appearance on the podcast, man. Say what's up to the people, man. This is my homie,
right, man.
Say what's up to the people, man. Appreciate you, bro.
They
were competitive with the Phillip Rivers era, but they never could take it over the top.
Yeah, man.
They lose to Pat. So
Phillip Rivers, another great franchise quarterback that never got a ring. Why? Because he played in San Diego, right? Like he was very much like Fouts. Like Fouts, Marino, Phillip Rivers. There's my triumvirate of guys who are like so good. It's just a shame to see them without a ring. Right?
And to see a guy like Fouts, I see some of his highlights, and man, that offense was they were very modern because look back in the 80s, that era was all about running the ball.
Yep.
You had a lead back and you had a game manager type of quarterback. But now the Chargers, they were launching that thing.
Yeah.
They were launching
35, 40 times a game, right? 400 yards passing. It was just a regular thing, right?
Yeah.
Kellen Winslow was the tight end.
That's what I'm saying.
And Kellen Winslow revolutionized the tight end position. Him and Ozzie Newsome. But Kellen Winslow was the original. This was the first tight end because previously tight ends were almost exclusively blockers, and they'd catch like maybe 25 passes a year, a couple hundred yards, that type of thing, rumble, stumble, blah, 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 blah. But no, Kellen Winslow would get like 100 receptions a year, 1,000 yards, et cetera, et cetera. He had pure wide receiver numbers for a tight end, and that was revolutionary.
And you know what? That shows you the evolution of the game now.
Because that's standard now. That's everywhere.
That's literally what we're going to talk about with our analysis of the games. You have premier tight ends who are pass catchers first. Look at Mahomes.
Oh yeah. Kelsey. Oh yeah. Now it's de rigueur now. If you're a tight end in the NFL, you have to be like 6'6" and capable of dominating the middle because the ball's coming your way.
You're getting a ton. Here's a crazy stat I saw last week, dog. Travis Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes have 16 touchdowns together. That's the highest duo with touchdowns. They're tied with Montana and Jerry Rice for 16 postseason touchdowns together.
Postseason. I was going to say that number seems light.
My bad. Sorry. Postseason. Yeah, I should have said that. In the postseason, Jerry Rice and Joe Montana, 16 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Kelsey and Mahomes, 16 touchdowns in the postseason. In the playoffs. It's crazy to think about that in an era like the 80s. The 80s, man, it was all about running the rock. So you see that the Chargers themselves have a history of a team that does really well on offense, does really revolutionary
stuff. They're considered to be an offensive franchise.
But they never crossed that bar of getting to the Super Bowl and winning. And I think he's my bold prediction.
Wins championships.
And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that very, very soon.
But yeah, for sure.
I think Jim Harbaugh is going to get them a ring at some point.
Yeah, I do. You know what? To me, that's a good bet. Look at how close he came with San Francisco in a short period of time. Right. Like everywhere he goes,
the commissioner turned off the lights.
Everywhere that guy goes, he turns the team around. Right. Stanford was moribund before he showed up. Had him at 10-1.
Yes.
Right. Threatening for a national championship. Right. Like the guy's just a winner.
He's a winner.
And it spreads around. You know what he really is? He's basically Pete Carroll 2.0.
Oh,
he's got NFL experience.
Yes,
he's got national championships. He's been famous at both levels. You know, and he just every time he rises like a phoenix. Right, this guy's reiterated his career. This will be the third occasion.
And you know what? It's great that you say Pete Carroll because Pete Carroll is one of the only 3 coaches who's won a national championship and a Super Bowl.
Not everybody can do it. Ask Nick Saban.
Ask Urban Meyer.
Okay, that's another one.
There's so many guys who take that leap, but only 3 guys did that.
Being the kings of college with knowing how to coach football.
Remember that? Remember when he was in Jacksonville? I'm like, come on, bro. You're kicking the kicker. You're dancing with like 20-year-olds.
Oh, and Saban was a disaster in Miami. Right?
He didn't do that well.
You can't run 53 grown men the same way you run a college franchise. It's not the same.
And as much as I like, Nick Saban, he is an asshole, bro. He is very, he's very demanding. But that leads to greatness, though. That leads also to greatness, but it can also rub people the wrong way. That's why he didn't succeed.
Sure enough. Like when you go
Miami.
If you want to play at Alabama, you make that sacrifice. But
definitely.
Saban's very much a disciplinarian, and it doesn't work in the pros.
These
are men you have to negotiate with it.
we're gonna do something that it's a little different. You know what I mean? We're gonna deep dive in our picks today. You know what I mean?
Okay. All
We're
right
gonna
now.
deep dive in our picks. But before we get to the picks, let's talk about some lines and spreads, man. Talk about some lines and spreads and how it looks to the people when we're looking at these two massive games. We're gonna start off with our lines and spreads today, but then we're gonna push and talk about obviously our predictions a bit after. Unc, how does it looking lines and spreads for the big time, the big games, man? We're gonna start with Detroit, San Fran. I'm looking at it right here. I'll share some of the screen with y'all. I don't think I can. I don't know if I can. But right now we're looking at the Detroit Lions San Francisco game over and under 52 and a half. They're giving a touchdown, 7 points and a half for San Fran. What do you think, Unc? What are your thoughts in this game? And then we'll analyze a bit deeper after, man.
Well, the two teams actually match up really well. Quiet as it's kept, Detroit actually has an answer for Christian McCaffrey with Jahmyr Gibbs and what's his name?
David
Montgomery. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, like, they can run the ball. And quiet as it's kept with San Francisco, San Francisco actually gives up more yards running than their stats would indicate, because the game script with so many San Francisco games is that, like, you're throwing the ball, you're flinging the ball all over the stadium trying to catch up. So you abandon the run game. So that happens. So quiet as it's kept, San Francisco actually can give up some yards on running. So if Detroit is able to get a solid conservative ground game going, they might sort of keep the ball out of Purdy's hands. But the reality is weather is going to be perfect in Santa Cruz. It's going to be 60 degrees, light breezes, no precipitation anywhere within the state, basically. It's perfect. So the small hands on Goff and Brock are not going to be an issue this weekend. So my guess is that it's going to be very much an aerial matchup, which Purdy probably wins. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Goff, but that San Francisco D is a little bit better. And Detroit gives up. If there's one weakness Detroit has, it is in their secondary.
Yes.
So
I agree with that.
San Francisco is in a prime position to actually make this game a blowout. If there is any game that's going to be a blowout, it's probably this one here.
Blowout territory. Okay.
But I don't think that happens. I think Dan Campbell has his team really hyped up. I think they would run through a wall for that guy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that he's got some stuff for them, whether maybe some tricks on special teams, whatever it be. I think Dan Campbell's going to come with his team prepared and ready to go.
Okay.
So I resist the narrative that says that this is a double-digit game. I'm inclined to take Detroit to cover.
To cover, okay.
To go on the over, to go over the 52 and a half points, although 52 points is basically sort of like 28-24, but I think they push into the 30s.
You push in 30s?
Yeah. So I think we go with the over on that one. But my guess is that San Francisco goes on to the Super Bowl.
Oh, nice. And then you know what? When we get on a deeper analysis, I got a little tidbits about San Fran. And
we all know they're vulnerable.
We could have. There's some questions about that team, brother.
Yeah, sure.
There's some questions about that team.
Yeah, well, we've seen those questions raised by a couple of different losses they had this year, right?
Oh man,
there's still that inexplicable 3-game losing streak in the early part of the season.
The early part of the season where we had to question who is Brock Purdy.
How good was he really?
And obviously,
he came back and showed us. But I mean, there were some questions there for a minute.
Big questions about. Also, not having that guy, Deebo Samuels, beside him.
Who is back this week.
He's back this week. So I think that might have moved the line.
Yeah. Well, it is at 7.5 now, and it was at 6. It started out at 6.
It started out at 6, so they thought it was going to be closer, obviously.
Yeah, the San Francisco money is coming in for sure, and they're driving that point spread up.
Let's look at this before we deep dive into this, but we already know who I'm cheering for. We already know. This is what we need. I don't care.
Ain't no mystery on that one.
To give us that objective.
I'm here for objectivity.
That's what we need. Because I promise you, if the Steelers were in it, I'd have to be the objective one. You know what I mean? Let's talk about it, Unc.
All right. So no analysis where the Ravens win by 28 and
let's go
and cover the over under all on their own. All right, so
let's come back to earth, man.
This is another line that has increased, right? Started out at 3.
Oh yeah,
now at 4.5.
Yep.
Right. And you have to understand, right? The Chiefs are a team with national exposure, right? They got
Yes,
fans all over the country at this point, after like 5-6 years of Mahomes, right? They have a national profile.
They're huge.
Right. So they have got fans all over the city, plus or all over the country, and plus all, whatever Swifties have come in. Although I doubt the Swifties.
They might do more than 100 or so. They have some type of trolling, man. It's crazy. So there's a guy on Twitter, right? You know what? Let's do it right now. We're gonna bring it back. We're bringing it back. We have to do it. You know what we gotta do, man.
Let's talk social media scandals, whatever they may be.
We have to do our T Swift segment of the week.
Oh shit!
You know it was coming.
Actually, I really didn't. But let's go. Get it up.
So basically, there's this guy on Twitter, right, who just does a lot of outrageous tweets, and he does like clown-ish, and he's just like he does it to engage and like does controversy, right?
Yeah.
So last week during the Chiefs and Bills game, he decided to get an AI generated picture of Taylor Swift.
Sure.
Very provocative, like looking like naked, looking like a whore, like that.
The hell's it? What's wrong with you?
He did that. It was not in poor taste, whatever. It went viral, and the Swifties caught onto it.
Yeah.
So the Swifties caught onto it, and they found out where he lives. They found out his job. They found out that he's actually from Toronto. So there's
because of course he is.
They found out where he went to school. He went to University of Toronto. They found out his job. They found out like his real pictures. Like they found out about his family.
That is outrageous.
And then articles came out, and then he was even talked about by the White House chief, the person who goes and speaks.
Oh, the press secretary.
The press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, was asked about it. How do you feel about provocative?
How did it get there?
Yes, one of the press secretaries.
You know what it is? Actually, it's because AI generated images of politicians has actually become a thing. It's going to dominate the 2024 conversation. They're talking about deep fakes are going to be a problem in this election.
There you go.
So that's why. And I guess the Taylor Swift one is a good example of how it can all go kerflooey.
That's the thing. Basically, it was like, at least the way it was framed was like some kind of sexual harassment.
Oh, it absolutely is.
And you know what? It actually is, because if people believe these pictures, it's like form.
Well, yeah,
it's not right. You know what I mean?
Defamation by any other name.
Absolutely. I fully agree with you. It's just kind of funny. The only thing that's funny about it is how a troll went all the way to the White House commenting on it and talking about it.
Well, it is becoming a national issue.
It is, and obviously don't
AI is like the Wild West right now.
Don't do things just for clicks and likes and ha-has, because this could have you doxed and found out everything about your life, your job, everything about you.
Never mind what the damage you've done to an innocent individual. Your life is fucked.
Your life, it's in your hands, dog. You might have ruined it, but that was just our T Swift segment.
Swifty don't play.
They don't play about Tay-Tay, apparently. You know what I mean? But we don't play about football.
Let me just one more addendum. Seeing we're on the TS segment. Did anybody see Jason Kelce?
Oh yeah,
at the private box.
I like that.
Just how sweet is that guy?
I like
hilarious. Bare-chested, just this bare-chested monster of a man climbs out of a private box, grabs your kid, takes off. It's like out of a movie.
The man is enjoying retirement.
I mean to tell you, that was like so sweet.
I liked it.
He's like, "Oh, you want to meet Taylor Swift? I mean, the kid was smart. Right below the private box, he's
That's
got the
very
"I
smart.
love Taylor Swift" sign. Jason Kelce crawls out of the box, like he crawls out of the box
and then picks
into
the
the
kid
stand,
up.
picks his kid up,
I
all
like
bare
that.
chested, like a complete stranger, grabs your kid and takes her away. And you're like, okay, have fun, honey. Everybody loves Jason Kelce.
I love it, man. And now, you know what? That's the cure for the T Swift hysteria that's going on. Just have a real one. Have a real one. A real brother looking out for his brother.
You know what I'm saying?
Just coming out there to support and be himself. Because you know, if the cameras weren't even rolling, he would have done that.
Well, yeah.
He's just being him.
That's the impression I get from
authentic.
Jason Kelce.
He's not trying.
Cameras,
he's not
no cameras. He's just natural.
Just being him.
He's a cool guy. I like him a lot.
And that's what we try to give y'all. We just being us, man.
Yeah,
you know,
dude.
we're not gonna fake. We're not gonna be whatever. We're
For
just
real.
gonna
So
be
we
us.
can relate to these guys.
We can relate to them guys, man. And we gotta relate to probably some more beers. So let's relate to some beers.
Yeah.
But while we relate to some more beers, man, let's relate to the actual line and spread for the
Chiefs
game
Ravens.
for Chiefs Ravens. Give us your analysis. I'm gonna get us some beers right now. I'm gonna order it up. Talk to the people while I come back.
Oh, snap.
I'm
finna go solo. All right. Yeah. So this is what we're looking at here with Kansas City and Baltimore. Again, the spread started out at around 3.5. Now, the spread has increased as the week has gone on. We're at about 4.5 points right now with an over-under of 44.5. Kansas City has been a bit of an enigma all year long. We mentioned last season how it was outrageous that the Chiefs could, get to week 10 before their offense showed up. This time they actually made it to the playoffs before an offense showed up. And that offense is really a skeleton unit, right? You got four guys between Pacheco.
You up, man. Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. One love, buddy.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yes, sir.
Is there anybody more popular than a bartender? Is there really?
No. Shout out
to the bartenders. Yeah. So Chiefs have been a bit of a mystery all year long. But on the other hand, this is what, 6 years in a row?
6 years in a row that the Chiefs under Patrick Mahomes have made the AFC Championship game.
The championship game, not the playoffs, the championship game.
Every year. That's so impressive.
It really is. So you can't ever count them out. But between Pacheco, Mahomes, Kelce, and then Rashee Rice, like those are your four. You only really have four skill positions. You were mentioning MVS the other day, making an appearance. So I suppose that's slightly promising. But yeah, like Kansas City, like their luck has got to run out at some point, you would think. But reality is, man, you want to be the champ. Sometimes you've got to beat the champ.
Oh, it's like a Rocky movie.
It is, man. And it's like they're on the road this time for the first time in a conference championship game. So it's an additional element. We got Baltimore playing lights out D against a team that has a skeleton offense, right? But how can you like after seeing what Mahomes keeps doing, what you saw him do in Buffalo? Like, that was insane. So it's really difficult to count out KC. Sorry to break this to you, brother, but it's difficult to count out KC. But nevertheless, I believe in this Baltimore Ravens offense. I believe, like, Lamar has gone to another level as a passer. Plus, he still has his running game. We've already shown statistically how closely aligned these two teams are, like when it comes to quarterback between Mahomes and Jackson, right? With the actual productivity numbers. But I see the Ravens as being on a bit of a mission, a mission of validation. And they've used that to their effect. And I think they are eager for this matchup in a way that maybe nobody has been when it comes to playing the Chiefs. So I think that Kansas City covers 4.5 points. I can see that. I can easily see it being a field goal game. Like, that just makes sense to me. Like the over under is a tough one. It's a little bit low. I'd say, hell, just take the over because it's the playoffs, right? There's going to be some points, right? I mean, 45 points is basically like 25-20, 24-20. Like, I think it might be a little bit more scoring than that. So I'd probably take the over, but that's a bit of a coin flip. But again, Chiefs to cover, Ravens to win.
Oh, I like that. I like hearing that.
Yeah, dude, I knew you would.
So I'll say this. If I did a prediction of this game, and now we're going into our deeper analysis of the game. I did a video about this game on Wednesday. And my video, I laid out a case on how. By the way, thanks for the lines and spreads. We really appreciate it. Has been winning us some money.
Yeah, dude, I've had a good playoff.
So yeah, I mean, we've been getting a few. You know, what I mean, we can afford these beers. You feel me? That's all I'm saying. You know,
hey, this is the beer I won for winning the fantasy league this year.
Hey man,
about time you paid up.
I'm paying you up. It's on me. That's something he didn't even know, but it's on me. I got you, Unc. But I was doing a deeper analysis, right? And I was looking at the game. I was just looking at the styles of teams because the key is styles make fights. You know what I mean? Styles make games. And I was looking at the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are a very good defense.
Yep.
They are a very good defense. So when
if they win today, it'll be because of that defense.
It'll be because of that defense. And I laid out the case on how the Chiefs win. How the Chiefs win is keeping this a low-scoring game. And making the defense thump Lamar and stop Lamar from going. Because when Lamar gets in a rhythm, it's a train, bro. You can't stop him.
I know, right? Once he gets those legs going.
Once he gets the legs going, once he finds, Z Flowers in the flat, and here's a big X factor. Mark Andrews is back. So you have a double tight end.
Andrews and Isaiah Likely. That's going to be like, I'm sorry, but I think Lamar and them have too many weapons for KC this time. I think KC's luck finally runs out.
Yeah.
But what you were saying about the defense, that explains why that over under is like a full touchdown less than what they're calling for out west.
Yes, it's like about 44 and the
44.5 versus 52.5. It's like an 8-point
difference.
Like and that's the D. And that's the D at work there.
That's what I'm telling you.
Because Kansas City's only chance is to have a 24-20 game.
They need to essentially do what they did, the Chiefs I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Their case for winning, by the way, is they have to do what they did last week. Essentially what they did to Josh Allen in the second half of the football game. If you have Lamar running it off and going crazy in the second half, they lose. But if you pay attention to the game last week, the Bills' offense did not look right in the second half.
No.
And that's because of Steve Spagnuolo's defense.
Yeah.
So that's how the Chiefs win the Ravens game.
Spagnuolo's a special defensive coordinator. He's excellent.
He's very, very good. Yeah. And you know who the Chiefs have to really exploit? They have to get Isaiah Pacheco 100 yards this game.
Yeah.
Isaiah Pacheco is the key for the Chiefs. Of course, Mahomes, of course. But if you have Isaiah Pacheco running hard, running rough, getting a touchdown, maybe two, getting first downs in third down situations. Running downhill. That's how the Chiefs win. But the Ravens, alternatively, if their running game gets going,
which it will,
it's almost guaranteed. That's how they win. Yeah. The key to winning for both these teams is virtually identical, dog.
Yeah, it really is.
It's virtually identical. And that's why I think I predicted on Wednesday it would be a blowout for the Ravens, meaning that if the Ravens got rolling, this could get ugly. Yeah. But I've changed my mind now. I think it's going to be a very close field goal game.
Yeah.
What's your deep analysis of the AFC Championship game?
Well,
let's go a bit deeper.
Right. Okay. Well, you mentioned Pacheco, right? Well, Pacheco it's for sure. He's a slightly built guy.
Yeah.
Right. But he runs violently. Right. You will take a knee to the chin strap with that guy if you decide you want to take him on. Right. He's not afraid of contact or any of that stuff. He will make you regret taking him on. So if he can have that type of effect on the Baltimore defensive line, then he could get to running downhill like that. You could end up seeing that result. But I don't think so, man. And Rashee Rice is probably he's also getting better as the season has gone along.
Oh, yes.
And so Rashee Rice is a real weapon, right? But I have a feeling that we're going to see some next level schematics from the Baltimore defensive coordinators.
Mike McDonald. That
guy knows his business.
Here's something interesting.
You got to remember, these guys keep keep their cards close to the chest, right? They don't open up the full playbook until you get to the playoffs.
Something interesting. Jim Harbaugh Mike McDonald used to be one of the little coordinators in the Michigan staff last year.
Yeah.
And Jim and John were talking, and John, apparently, I read this in an article. John asked Jim, "Hey, we need a new D coordinator.
Right.
Can I grab one of your guys?" And Jim said, "Yeah, grab this guy, Mike McDonald." And it's paid dividends because now you look at the Ravens defense, they are flying.
Oh, yeah. The defense
so the brother connection helps set them up.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Cool. Well, this is what I was telling you about Harbaugh, right?
That's what he was talking about,
uber connected. They know football inside and out. And Jim's like, why wouldn't he help his brother?
Right? Like, I'm gonna help my bro out, man.
Go ahead, man. This is more where these guys. It was more where this guy came from.
So we're aligned on this. We think it's gonna be a close game. We think that the styles make the fight. You are going with. So am I. I'm going with the Ravens, but this is going to be a tight game, field goal type of game.
I
think it's going to be
4.5 points. 4.5 points is one of those spreads that's non-committal, right? Like you expect them to win, but not by a touchdown.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, like, if you do that, you're by taking 4.5 points. You're basically saying that Baltimore is going to win by a touchdown over that defense, over Steve Spagnuolo and all that stuff.
Yes, sir.
So, to me, I think the better bet is to just take the Chiefs. I have a feeling they'll lose by 3 if they lose, right? Something like that. Unless Lamar really gets going, right? If he gets to running 100 yards plus 4 touchdowns, right? Like that's going to be like 38-21 or something. But if he really gets going, okay, sure. But statistically, that doesn't bear out. So I would take the Chiefs to cover that 4.5 points because I think they'll lose by 3. Borderline, a coin flip again on the over-under, right? Either that works for you, it doesn't. But don't be surprised if it's under.
No.
But Baltimore is going to win this game.
I feel like they're on a mission.
I feel like they're on a mission. They're a team of destiny. But it's it. Dude, we're finishing each other's sentences. I'm not sure what this means for the future of the podcast. We decided that we just need one of us because the mental alignment is significant enough. I got beefed off I could toss off my own podcast because
you take it from the black man.
My brother, it ain't like that.
I'm bullshitting. I'm playing. We playing, man. I got love for Unc, man. This shit, man. This is my dog. Man. But we got to talk about. Let's get a deeper analysis of the other side of the coin. Let's go a little deeper on the NFC game. I don't think this is getting as much coverage as it is, of course, because we got the 2 best quarterbacks in the league facing off against each other. There's going to be a lot of light in it. But I think this could be a sneaky good game. We're going to learn a lot about Brock Purdy, but we're going to learn a lot about somebody else. We're going to learn a lot about Shanahan. And when we talk about Shanahan, he has a pattern of losing.
Oh, does he?
Big-time games, especially think
about in the playoffs recently,
playoffs, you know what I mean? You think about that loss in Atlanta, the 28-3 loss. Shanahan was part of that staff. You know what I mean? You're talking about a lot of Niners games where playoff games, obviously. I'm not talking about,
that's right. That's right. They have been disappointing.
But Shanahan has been disappointing in big-time playoff games. And it's almost seemed like a pattern. You think about it like this. We like to talk a lot about the Cowboys. You know what I mean? Cowboys, disappointing Cowboys. But think about it like this. When's the last time the Niners won a ring?
Yeah.
1998, bro. I think it was Steve Smith or something. Steve Young, my bad.
Yeah.
The Niners have been, even though they've gone further than
I think it might even go further back, man. I think the last Niners Super Bowl was 94.
94. Even longer than that. And of course, the Niners make it to the playoffs. Of course, they make it championship games. But do they win a ring? They don't.
That's a fair point.
They're looking for their 6th franchise ring for the Niners. Who has the pressure this weekend? Do you think? What do you think about
the pressure's all in San Francisco. They're the home team, man. And here comes Detroit. They haven't been in this position in 30 plus years. Like they're fighting San Francisco's fighting history as well as the Detroit Lions today.
It's a lot to lose. It's a lot to lose, brother.
Yeah, like who wants to be the team that let Detroit win the NFC Championship, right?
I'm telling you.
But it's entirely possible, man. Dan Campbell is one hell of a motivational coach. Like he's got that team. They're ready to run through a wall for that guy.
Absolutely.
And they've got the tools. But they got one weakness, and that's in the secondary, right? Those corners can be had, and Brock Purdy can fling the damn ball.
Oh, yeah.
So can Jared Goff, by the way. So, but that is going to be the difference in the game. Most likely, I believe, is the secondary.
The secondary.
That Detroit secondary. But the other one, like I mentioned earlier, too, is that I think you're going to see a better Detroit ground game than you're used to seeing against San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
And if they can do that, they can keep the game and the ball out of Purdy's hands, and they can control the tempo of the game if they do that.
Yes, sir. I can see that.
Right? So that's going to be extremely important for the Detroit franchise today.
I'm thinking, what's interesting, right? The best story here in this playoffs
is Detroit. It's got to be, man. It's the story of the year.
Yeah, I think that's such a beautiful story where you look at how that team was less than 10 years ago. 0-16.
0-16, man. Nobody thought it was possible.
Just like put that in your mind right now.
0-16. And they were probably 2-14 the year before. It was a brown paper bag era, right?
Imagine being a season ticket holder in that season.
Look, there's certain franchises in the NFL over the years that I've just assumed that fans just accept the fact that
we're about to lose. Yeah. We're showing up to watch a loss.
I paid $40 for this ticket, but and now it's more like $400.
Shout out to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Y'all are losers.
We all understand that. Yeah. There are certain franchises just seem snake bitten over the years, and Detroit has definitely been it. So if there's a team right now that it could credibly call itself America's team, it's Detroit.
Easily.
Everybody's on Detroit right now.
Easily Detroit. And because it's a comeback story.
It's a Cinderella story for real.
I mean, here's the thing, though. We got to be real. Cinderella, there's a pumpkin that happens there.
And there sure as hell is.
There's a pumpkin. So my thing is, as I analyze and I looked a bit deeper into Detroit has won a lot of great games. They've also embarrassingly lost some games.
Yeah.
Like in really embarrassing fashion. Come on, harkening back to the Baltimore Ravens versus the Lions game, which could be a Super Bowl preview for all we know.
Right.
They got whooped. It was like 48 something to like 6. And I think it started with obviously the Ravens stopping the run game. And then Jared Goff became a pumpkin. I think he threw like 2 picks.
Yeah. You take
Jared Goff can do that sometimes. As great as he's been this season, Jared Goff could have a bad game.
Yeah, Detroit, just like San Francisco, had a bit of a trough in the middle of the season. Over an 18-week season, 17 games, right? Like that happens, right?
Of course.
But if you're like really smart, right? Like if you're San Francisco, if you're Shanahan and whatnot, you're cataloging those losses. Right, Campbell too. Right, you're cataloging those losses. You're figuring out how did they like turn the key to like blow them out like that.
How did they find out the ways
in
order to win?
Every time you lose, you give basically an imprint of what another coach could use against your franchise. And so both Detroit and San Francisco had like a bit of a losing trough earlier in the season. So I don't really say like that, they're necessarily any weaker than San Francisco that way because they've both shown the ability to lose
and lose in embarrassing
spectacular fashion. Yeah,
you know what I mean. And another one, obviously a lot of people talked about it, but an underrated loss was the Dallas loss. Let's talk about the Detroit's loss to the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh Jesus, that was a tragedy.
It was a tragedy.
But hold on a second. Before we get too emotional on that, people shouldn't forget. It's like the Mookie Wilson mistake for Boston years back in '86, right? Don't forget that after that play failed, Detroit had 2 more shots at the end zone and missed it. Right?
That's what I was gonna get to. They're
not innocent in that loss. As tragic as it was,
as bad as the loss that was. Detroit had 2 other chances to get in the end zone.
And they fucked it up.
And they messed up both. Yeah. That tells me that there's a little leak in that crack, in that Detroit crack. I'm talking about there's a chance. If San Francisco successfully stop some of these screens, stops some of these inside runs, stops the main guy who's the key to this offense.
A lot of ifs in there.
Jameer, it's a lot of ifs.
Yeah. Thunder and lightning in Detroit's backfield.
Jameer Gibbs, I think, is the key to that offense.
Yeah, because Jameer Gibbs is another CMC, huh?
Yes, he is.
Now he doesn't get as many touches as CMC, but he's got the same skill set.
I love this matchup. Since we're talking deep dive, we deep diving. We giving y'all all the juice.
Yeah,
we're squeezing everything out this orange, bro.
But I think what's really big though is the fact that Debo will be in the lineup. I think that's huge for San Francisco. It could be the X factor because CMC gets keyed on a lot when Debo isn't there. Oh, yeah. So with Debo there and that down threat that he provides and the running threat, I mean, the guy he's like a Swiss Army knife with what he can do. He's got a lot of tools, right? So anyhow, Debo has a big game, a huge game. It might be lights out for Detroit.
I look at it.
We'll see. We shall see.
I'm gonna go a little deeper in terms of the matchup. I'm gonna watch two people this game.
Who's that now?
Fred Warner.
Jameer
Gibbs.
Yeah.
Those two
they're gonna get to know each other very well.
They're gonna learn about each other a lot. They're gonna meet each other. They're gonna probably have more than a cup of tea, dog.
Oh, dude.
I think that matchup is huge for this game.
Cup of pain.
A lot of pain. I think they might need more than an ice bath after that.
Yeah, Fred Warner's been playing inspired, man. He led that defensive comeback.
Oh man, he has. And I think if you watch these two guys play, they're gonna decide.
Yeah,
the winner of this game.
Like Fred Warner was key in stopping Green Bay when they finally decided.
Oh yes,
that they were gonna keep playing this year.
When they put that gas pedal in. You know what I mean? And everybody's going to say the obvious. He's
one of the best middle linebackers out there.
Oh, man. And you know what I like about him? He's great in coverage. So if you're in a situation.
Yeah, he drops back.
He'll drop back.
Yeah, he's very athletic.
He'll get an interception on folks. Yeah. So we can see an ugly version of Jared Goff with maybe 2 picks. Yeah. Maybe even pick 6. Because as great as Jared Goff has played this season, he had some games where he was double interception game.
Yeah, Purdy too. Now they wanted to blame that on the weather the other day, but it's happened before.
Purdy has,
Purdy has it would not surprise me at all today if special teams had something to say in the final outcome of this game, and it would not surprise me at all if both quarterbacks had a couple picks.
Oh, you're going about the double,
the double. I think this is going to be a very close game. These teams are very evenly matched, except for that hole in Detroit secondary.
And that Detroit secondary has been caught slipping sometimes.
But also, San Francisco has holes in its defensive line when it comes to the run. Like I said, it's quiet as it's kept because they've changed the script on so many teams by getting into a boat race, right, where they're just shooting out in front. People abandon the run, right? So it's the opposite of padding your numbers. San Francisco's numbers are a little bit less on rushing than they really are capable of giving up.
Very, very true. Because here's the thing.
So Detroit gets rolling. Look out.
That leads me to the two guys I was talking about. If you think about Jameer Gibbs or David Robinson Montgomery, if then they start running and rolling and pounding that defensive line of San Fran, because think about it.
And guess who opens up when that happens? The sun god suddenly starts hauling in a 70-yard reception because they got 8 men in the box trying to stop Jameer Gibbs and Montgomery.
And
that happens, man. That happens all the time.
That's actually low key what the Ravens do a lot. They start off with the run game.
Yeah.
Guys come in the box.
And Lamar starts picking off downfield. And that's what I expect to happen today.
Odell.
That's what I think is going to happen.
Man, they all open up. Because these one-on-one matchups show like some matchups and some deficiencies essentially.
Yeah.
So we're gonna watch. If y'all want a deep dive, this is the deep dive. Watch Jameer Gibbs and watch Fred Warner because they're gonna decide the tempo and the flow of the game. And obviously the Ravens and Chiefs equivalent, Pacheco and Roquan Smith. I think quiet as kept. Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen have been having a fantastic season.
Yeah, they're going to
a linebacking duo.
See, the one thing Pacheco can't do that Jameer Gibbs and CMC can do is good hands in the flat.
Oh, amazing hands.
They can add another 50, 60 yards and receptions. Just like that.
Just like that.
Yeah, just like 5 or 6 in the flat for first down each time. I'm telling you, man, Jameer Gibbs and CMC both can do that. Whereas Pacheco cannot. Pacheco is violent power, straight ahead.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna give Unc a few seconds on here. I'm gonna bring our special guest in here. Unc, talk to them for a bit second. I'm gonna bring a little special guest.
All right now. All right. So, yeah, we got all kinds of fun stuff in football coming up here today, man. We start at 3 o'clock. First game coming up shortly. I think that's going to be an outstanding pair of games, man. A lot of people are counting Detroit out just because of their history. And that's reasonable to do so. The ghost may come back to haunt you. But I have a feeling that San Francisco, Detroit is going to be a lot closer than people think.
I think it's going to be real close. But
multiple lead changes. I don't see a boat race in either game.
I think
Baltimore has the best chance of getting out front and staying out front.
I can see them shutting the door. I can see like the Ravens. It's two extremes. I can see two extremes. By the way, our special guest is a little preoccupied right now. Should be out for a little bit. But much love to our special guest, man. We got love for her. But you're right about that. When you're talking about the Ravens, if there's a blowout opportunity, you go two ways. I think San Fran could do the blowout, or the Ravens could do the blowout.
Yeah.
But you know why? Because
neither of the other two, neither Detroit nor the Chiefs, are capable of a blowout.
Right? I don't see a blowout on that.
I mean, Detroit.
Knock on wood, though.
I mean, Detroit has the horses for a blowout, but San Francisco's defense ain't gonna let that happen.
Because I'm thinking the way the blowout would happen is one team would get out in front early, and then they shut the door.
Well, see, that's what I'm
thinking.
See, this come out early and shut the door. That's how it would happen if Baltimore gets a blowout today, right? Mm-hmm. If they're up 21-3 at halftime, it's lights out.
It's over. It's over because
they're just going to ground and pound for 2 more quarters.
We've seen that. We've seen that happen for both teams, actually.
Yeah.
Where you see San Fran get, let's say, some 3 quick touchdowns. One to CMC.
Yeah. For sure.
One to IU.
CMC, he'll secure the rock for the whole rest of the game.
And you know what? That leads to a run game. A run game in the second half. Mm-hmm. And we've seen San Fran go on 5-minute drives. We've seen the Ravens 7-minute drives.
Yeah.
And then the defense.
Which is what you want to do, man. Yes. There's nothing greater in the history of football than conference championship game, some drive, 8 minutes in the fourth quarter, just grinding it out. It's epic. It's epic. Right? You just you could feel the tension building.
And this is why I love playoff football, man.
Yeah,
and that's leads us to think about overtime, man. And this is overtime. 15 minutes till the game.
What are we talking about in overtime today, anyways? Where are we gonna go?
I literally have no idea. I'm free balling. I didn't even plan this, bro. That's the beauty of overtime. Man, we're talking about the playoffs. We're talking about what we love seeing in the playoffs. We got to talk Super Bowls, man.
Okay.
We're a week, 2 weeks away from the Super Bowl. We talked about some of our Super Bowl memories. We talked about some Super Bowls we love, some Super Bowls we didn't love. What is the best? Well, we know that the Detroit is the best story.
Yeah.
We know that Detroit's the best story. But how many legacies will change with a Super Bowl for all these 4 teams? And I'm gonna start off with, obviously, I'm a Baltimore guy. I'm a Ravens guy. There was an interesting podcast that came out this week where Cam Newton, who's our favorite commentator.
Yeah, Cam Newton, bad as fuck.
Cam Newton said something that was controversial at first, but I had to sit down and marinate on it.
Yeah,
and I want to see what you think about it. Lamar,
he accused people of being gay managers. Basically, we had this discussion. We're just like at one level, everybody's a gay manager. It's sort of the job description.
And he said a hot take, something hotter than that recently.
Oh yeah.
He talked to one of his friends from Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
And he asked his friend, bro, who has a bigger impact on Baltimore? That friend said, between Ray Lewis and Lamar, that friend said,
oh yeah,
Lamar has a bigger impact.
Oh yeah, for
matters
sure.
more to the city of Baltimore.
Oh really? That type of impact.
That was he's talking about. The impact to the city of Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
Between Ray Lewis and Lamar Jackson. And my thinking is, I said, hell no. I rejected it at first.
Yeah.
But then I thought about it through. We are in the modern NFL right now where the quarterback position is boom, 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 promoted to the highest. If Lamar was to win a ring this year, it would change so many narratives and be so huge, not only for the city of Baltimore, but it would be big for the culture of football where there was such a doubt about running quarterbacks. We're talking about the Steve Youngs. We're talking about Randall Cunningham. We're talking about the dual threat, Michael Vicks of the world.
Yeah.
Unc, what do you think? If you look at the whole history of Baltimore or the Ravens as a hip hop, And not a hip hop historian, a football historian, maybe even a hip hop historian.
I had Run DMC's Rock Box. Don't mess around.
Let's go. And the impact of football in the big picture. What does a Lamar championship mean? Not only for the Baltimore Ravens, but also for the league. What do you think about that, man?
Well, I think it establishes Baltimore as one of the premier teams, right? Remember, they've been around now since when did Cleveland move to Baltimore? 95?
It's 95, 95.
95, right?
I was a baby. I was born.
Right? Okay, so, and remember, in Cleveland, there were no Super Bowls.
None.
Right? I think, maybe back in the 50s, they might have had like a league championship or something like that, but Jim Brown or whatever, right? So for Baltimore, this would be their third Super Bowl since 2000.
Yeah.
Right? For a franchise that had never had one before. So, yeah, man, like, it's not like anybody has lovable loser tag on Baltimore anymore, like, as the old Brownies or anything. So that's not as if that's a common narrative, but it would really establish them as one of the more consistent teams.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, basically, a Super Bowl every 10 years.
And you know what? Talk about another narrative. What about the Niners? If they were to win a chip, how does that impact the legacy of not only Kyle Shanahan, the whole Niners legacy, their first ring, and maybe 29, close to 30 years? What do you think, huh?
Well,
break it down to us.
What I think is that San Francisco's in the same position that the Bill Cowher Steelers were in the early 90s, right? A team that's been moribund, has not been back to the same place that made them famous, the Super Bowl, right?
When they trying to fire Bill Cowher at some points, they were mad at him for not winning a ring.
There was some frustration, yeah. There was some frustration at first, yeah, but that's not the Steelers' way. So I doubt very much they were. I doubt very much it was the Steelers that were talking like that.
Maybe the fan base.
The fan base, definitely, most likely. They sometimes get a little testy with the Steelers sticking with their coaches the way they do, but just be patient. Anyways, yeah. So here was Cowher. Cowher comes in what, I think it was 90, 91, 92, whatever. Has an instant impact, right? The team starts winning again a little bit. Nice. But it took them till 2005 to get another ring, right? But so here was this franchise that was famous for winning 4 Super Bowls in 6 years or 5 years, and then hadn't done anything for 20.
Oh, yeah, they hadn't won for such a long time. Yep,
right?
That's
so, right. It was almost 25 years before the Steelers got a ring again. The one for the thumb.
I like it.
I think that's where the 49ers are right now. So a win for them would kind of be like, it wasn't just an era. We as a franchise, as a club, can win Super Bowls all the time.
I like that. So now we'll flip the script again. Let's look at
what would it be for Detroit or for the Chiefs?
Let's go Chiefs, and then let's go Detroit right after. Let's look at the Chiefs.
What does it mean for the Chiefs?
Let's talk about it.
Chiefs would be like, the fuck were you expecting?
The big boy.
Yeah.
What you thought this was?
And we did it without an offense until the playoffs.
With no
until we wanted to play offense. I mean, who wants to get all that tired all year long?
Segment of the
Listen, let me tell you what the Chiefs are doing. And Kelts is the worst at it too, right, bro? Remember last year when they won? Nobody believed in us.
Kidding me?
Like, you guys been in the Super Bowl how many times in the last 5 years? You won 5 conference championships in a row. What do you mean nobody believes in us? Everybody believes in you. Questions, but everybody believes in you. But that's what Kelts and them are trying to do. They're trying to parlay that underdog status into some type of motivation. Because think about it, you got to get up again every year. Like the Chiefs have been remarkable in their consistency, but that's how you do it, right? You got to find new ways to motivate yourself, and that's what Kelts and them are doing. They're trying to play victim. It's not working.
I'll be real. You're not victims, bro. Y'all in the evil empire. F y'all, but I'm gonna keep it real. If they win the chip this year, this will be their most impressive ring. I'll say this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
This would be their most impressive ring.
It'll be like,
oh my god,
it'll be like the Dollar General Value Village Super Bowl. This is what you can do on a budget.
Straight up. This is the Costco championship that they got. They literally bought in bulk, and they were able to, with scraps, not only make it, but win. I think this was obviously Mahomes already is, in my eyes, he's already a Hall of Famer.
That guy could get Guy could be out of the league tomorrow. He'll be in the Hall of Fame in 5 years.
He's already in the Hall. He'd have to, like, I don't know, not go on the most insane downfall to him, and he'd still make the Hall of Fame.
He'd still make the Hall of Fame. If you've got a ring as a quarterback, you're going in the HOF.
I think he gets this ring, his third, in about 6 years. We're reaching all-time territory.
You're in the Brady territory.
We're in the all-time top 5 QB
of all time
territory. Yep. Andy Reid, we're reaching all-time territory with him too.
Because think about it, it's only Brady. I think it's only Brady, Montana, and Bradshaw that have 3 or more rings.
Really?
Yeah. So when you say top 5, you're not kidding.
So he's in top 5 territory. He wins this ring this year. And I believe that.
Yeah.
I think he's top
5. Yeah, because rings are the ultimate measurement, right? I mean, that's why they give them out. So you can show them off and show everybody else how they're not as good as you.
Let me tell you something. As much as I don't like this guy, Eli Manning, he's a sure lock for Hall of Fame.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Don't look at his record. Don't look at his touchdown, interception. He has 2 of them things.
2 rings that nobody saw coming, by the way.
Nobody saw coming. But let me tell you something. We got to finish this off with the Detroit Lions. Yeah. How does that impact?
How does that change their franchise?
Their legacy. Talk to us, Uncle.
Well, they'll have number one. They'll have a season ticket problem the following year because everybody's head will just plot and explode, right? Okay. So 80,000 fans taken out at one time, it's hard to recover from. So yeah, there might be a bit of a rebuild on that, but the team itself will be transformed. The biggest thing that a Super Bowl does is it transforms the mentality with which people see you and talk about you. It would break the spell, because see the thing about Detroit, right? Nobody else has gone 0-16 except Detroit. But if they also have a ring, they can say, "Yeah, we were going through some things, but we got a ring."
They got a ring.
Think of how many other teams do not.
I think about it like this:
Detroit would enter the elite pantheon of Super Bowl winners. How's them?
Crazy.
How's those apples?
Think about it like this: since the only teams in the NFC who haven't been to the Super Bowl since the 1990s, or at least an AFC championship game, have been the Washington Commanders and the Dallas Cowboys. Because Detroit is in the championship game. That's just 25 years or more. Washington Commanders, 25 years or more.
It's funny. That's a short list. Huh?
That's a short list. Franchises habitual, non-competing for an NFC Championship game.
Exclusivity isn't the flex you think it is sometimes.
I think Detroit is a story. I would think that, like you just said,
I would like nothing better than to see them win today. I think it would be so great for football to see them win today.
We'll shake things up
because for them to win today will really be Dan Campbell's coaching tour de force, and I would love to see that for him.
And you know what? I'm smelling some of this food. I want to eat some of this food.
Yeah, I'm fit to eat too, man.
Fit to eat too? Oh, shit. That's Chunk's Championship, lunch.
That's right.
Courtesy of me.
That's right. You promised the wings. That's right. You did.
I got you on the wings, brother. And then we're gonna enjoy it. We're gonna enjoy this game. I hope y'all enjoy the games too, man. Me and Unc out here signing out. Unc and Fuel.
We'll see you next week.
We'll see y'all next week, man. And we out, bro. Yes, sir. And the stream.